I know on the coach's side, I try to do some hardcore hip hop, and we were kind of messing around a little bit too hard yesterday. But today, we have the one and only Luis Estrada in the house. And I've been trying to get Luis on this show and on the other show for so long, which just introed in is just some nice jazz. Because we're gonna try and class it up a bit so we can convince Luis to be on for a while. But it is the mess around show. It is the Friday show. It is the mess around. So this is gonna be a little bit of a more loose. We're just gonna talk some sports. That's it. That's why we call it the mess around. We are the Knuckleheads, Knucklehead Podcast Network. You can write us on email at knuckleheadpods@gmail.com. Find us at knuckpods on both Facebook and Twitter. But we actually have someone smarter than us on tonight after the draft. So we got Luis. We have Baltimore Blaine. Everyone else is out doing more fun things than we are. Luis is actually taking his vacation by watching his dog. So that's awesome. The family goes out and Luis says, you know what, I'm going to stay home with my dog. That's my vacation. That's why we love Luis, because he's just like us. I think it's the same thing. So Luis, why don't you say hi to the people, and let's welcome in Baltimore Blaine after you.
Hey everybody, Blaine, Chris, it's a pleasure to be on. I'm very, very excited to be back on here with you guys. And what more could you want? You got the NFL draft going on, and we talk about times to restructure the NFL. This is where it starts.
Baltimore Blaine, how you doing on this Friday night?
I'm doing well, sir. Yes, this is where it starts. This is the craziness, like the thing that we've been waiting for the whole off season is this draft. Now we're into it. There have been some interesting highlights. Let's say to say the least. This draft has been exciting. Uh, we'll go into it though in a bit. I know my phones have been blowing up because of all of the people who associate me with the show, and some of our associates from other shows have been calling and giving their opinions on it. It's just been crazy.
When you just said your phones, I pictured Blaine in a small dark room with like three of the old school like '70s, like business phones with the eight lines on it, like answering the calls. So I think
Dial up, baby, dial up,
yeah.
dial up.
So I think it is kind of interesting because we have Luis on, and so obviously when Luis comes on, we're going to talk a little bit about the Rams. And they've kind of maneuvered to a point where the draft so far hasn't been that interesting. Obviously, I'm going to talk about the Seahawks picks, and I was actually Luis and I both I think were expecting to come on and congratulate you, Baltimore Blaine, on a great day one, and you're not happy with it.
I'm less than enthused. Yes. Should I go into that now?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Let's start with that before we get into all the boring stuff that everyone else covers. Let's stick to the Homer stuff. And I think that one of the overlying themes that we've talked about over and over again on various Mancini podcasts, as well as our podcast here, is how Pittsburgh, uh, Baltimore need to get a backup quarterback. They need to do these things. They need to pick up some other skill position people. I think that you guys have had a great offseason, picking up some sharp guys, and then finally addressing someone who is a top athlete who is perfect to sit behind a starting quarterback. So why don't you answer and just give us a little taste of why you're not happy, and then we'll let Luis kind of respond and give his thoughts on what you said.
Okay. Well, it's intriguing the move back up into round one at the end of the day to choose Lamar Jackson as the last pick of the draft. That was exciting. That was intriguing. Didn't see that coming. Thought we were going to draft a quarterback somewhat like the Steelers did today in the third round or later to groom or possibly groom behind Flacco, because I expected Flacco, and I still expect Flacco to be there for another couple of years. That is intriguing because of the athlete that they got. Lamar Jackson is definitely worth that number one pick from what I see from my limited experience and knowledge of quarterbacks. But the problem I had is that we did the same thing that Ozzie does. And it's his last draft. And at this point, I'm happy to see it be his last draft because I think his mindset, my philosophy is different, I guess. His mindset of just trading back and picking up draft picks. Okay, that's cool. Draft capital is, everybody likes that. But there's a trade-off on that. When you're doing that, you're settling for lesser players. We need wide receivers. Well, our wide receiver situation is temporary at best. We have Crabtree that we signed on a 3-year contract, which is basically a 1 to 2-year contract. We have Smokey Brown.
Pass physicals, right?
Don't start with me. I just got on somebody about that yesterday. Had to set them straight on that. We got Smokey Brown. By Smokey Brown's request that he wanted a prove-it deal of 1 year, $5 million. And then we signed Willie Snead to a 2-year contract. These guys are all coming off down years. They are not the future as we can see it now. We need a wide receiver. We passed up a wide receiver in DJ Moore that could be the future. I think DJ Moore is going to be a star in this league. And we continuously do this every year. Pass up. And we picked the tight end Haven Hurst at number 25 when we could have had DJ Moore at number 22. And I just have more capital. I believe it's more value. I have more value in a wide receiver than a tight end. And I understand why they did it, but they could have gotten a tight end. It's still in round 2 if they had stayed in round 2 or even round 3. Because they had Gesicki, they had Goddard, and I don't see why that pick went to Hayden Hurst at number 25. But I'll let you guys say something here. I don't want to dominate this. Go ahead and give me your feedback on that. And if you want me to go further, I will.
Well, I'll tell you what, Baltimore Blaine, I actually like what Baltimore did. I like the fact that they did get Hurst. I mean, you mentioned a receiver. Yes, they could absolutely use a receiver, but you got to have an outlet. And they've been having problems since Todd Heap is not the Todd Heap. He's gone. You had Dennis Pitta, who looked like the heir apparent but couldn't stay on the field. You got to have somebody to check down to. So I actually like them picking up Hayden Hurst from South Carolina there at 25. You mentioned DJ Moore. I like DJ Moore a lot, but I think he's a little undersized as a true number 1 receiver. I love the because I think at some point, if you're not Flacco, which it doesn't seem to me that the front office is, then you've got to get somebody as an heir apparent. And I love the fact that you get a guy, a former Heisman Trophy winner, Lamar Jackson, who's got a lot to prove. Him sitting there in the green room all the way to the last pick of the first round last night, I thought if there was ever a guy that looked more ticked off and more motivated coming out of the green room at the draft, it was him. I've never seen a guy with that much fire in his eyes as he came up to the podium. So I liked what I saw from Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to be really, really good in the NFL. DJ Moore, I like him. I do think he's a little undersized. You mentioned a receiver. Right where you were at 25, you could have had a guy like Calvin Ridley, the wide receiver out of Alabama, who went right at number 26. So, Ridley I think is going to be really good. I think Hurst is going to be really good in that offense. You met also with the other thing with Joe Flacco. This is the last year of his guaranteed contract, of his guaranteed money. So this could very easily be his last year with the Baltimore Ravens. So I like the Lamar Jackson pick. I thought it was phenomenal. And as soon as they traded up, I said, Lamar Jackson's going here. And sure enough, that's where it went. I don't think you could have asked for a better, more fired up guy coming in than Lamar Jackson. You mentioned the Pittsburgh Steelers earlier. They picked up their quarterback of the future, hopefully for them, today in Oklahoma State quarterback Mason Rudolph in the 3rd round. Mason Rudolph, he's got some intangibles. I like the way he throws the ball. Now, how much time does he have to learn? We heard rumblings that even last year, to step away. Maybe it's time to hang it up. And they didn't really have a contingency plan in place. So I like them getting Mason Rudolph. But the question remains: are you going to get a motivated, or are you going to get a bit to be small?
Blaine, why don't you answer that? Because I think that besides, I know you've got to feel some type of way about your Ravens. I was literally thinking that the best possible outcome for Pittsburgh would be Mason Rudolph. So, so we don't jump around too much, why don't you finish with Baltimore? Because I have to admit, I'm with Luis. I think you guys just nailed it. I think you guys killed it. I think that even if Flacco ends up playing for longer, you can pull a Green Bay or a New England and pass it along and trade the guy. He's on the rookie contract. And then you finally got your tight end. We've joked around, kind of sadly about how much injury you've had. And then after you answered that, please, Luis is 100% right on. I think that they just got Ben 2.0.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to make clear the Lamar Jackson deal or pick is not my problem. I have no problem with that. I find that intriguing. Like I said, we'll see how that pans out. I didn't see it coming, but I have no problem with that. Joe Flacco has been underachieving for the last few years. Not all his fault, because this franchise, this front office hasn't been supplying weapons for the guy. But Flacco is partly to blame for that. The front office, I think, it's the whole organization. The organization as a whole is responsible for the failure of that offense. Secondly, as far as the receivers, I have more value in DJ Moore than I do in Calvin Ridley, mainly because I think DJ Moore has a better upside. Also, you saw what Calvin Ridley did at the combine. That throws up a red flag to me about his work ethic. To not be ready to outperform all these other receivers where you're rated that high and you're supposedly a number one talent or first round talent, and so separated from the rest of the receivers, to come in and do a so-so combine really throws up a red flag to me. Do you take time? Do you take plays off, or are you going to be a problem, in practices and, in games where you're just going to stop your routes in the middle, because you're not getting the ball? So that's why I like DJ Moore better. Now, again, I'll say that DJ Moore at number 22 would have been ideal for the Ravens because they have no future star receiver. The fact that he's not a number one right now doesn't mean he's not going to be a number one in the future. And right now, they have nothing to show for it. I'm watching the draft now, and they just got another tight end apparently, but they haven't addressed the wide receiver situation other than this year, and we don't know how that's going to pan out. So the future is looking like the past as far as passing up on first round talent to get so-so talent or second tier talent down the road because you were able to get more draft picks. That's the trade-off that bothers me. If it'd be fine if we were solid at wide receiver. If we were Atlanta, then I wouldn't have a problem with it as much. But we aren't Atlanta. We're far from Atlanta. So, we need to take advantage of these picks that are there for us rather than being cutesy and trading back and grabbing more picks. You can have all the picks you want, but if you don't have the talent to spend it on, what good is it? So that's my issue there. Other than that, I've always been an Ozzie Newsome guy, but I am sick of seeing this every year. And we know how much of a failure these picks have been for the wide receivers in the draft for the Ravens. So why are you going back and saying, we got a lot of depth in the later rounds at wide receiver, as if you've mastered it? You haven't mastered it. You've been abysmal in these picks. So now you have a talent that's ranked higher, two talents that were ranked higher that you could have gotten at wide receiver that could have been the future, and you pass on it. And believe me, it was the same thing as last year, Chris. where I had to be talked off the cliff by these guys that I watched the games with,
I still think,
Ravens fans.
that corner was better than getting DJ Howard. I do. I still think that was a
well,
better pick.
it,
Listen, I understand
it may be.
we're talking Ravens, so we're in we're a homer lane, but I got to cut you off just a little bit because
Yeah, that's cool.
I want to change. I want to say that I think Luis was right on about the dump down. They tried it with Woodhead. Obviously, that didn't work. Last year, they had like 5 or 6 people on the pup list to start the season at tight end position. I mean, it's crazy. So I think what he is saying is correct. Now,
I agree with that.
And Ozzie deserves to be. I mean, he's already in the Hall of Fame as a player. I think he deserves to be there as a GM.
Mhm.
But the one thing he's always missed on is rookie receivers, and he keeps missing on it. So we'll get back to that because I have an idea that we're going to kind of come back as we watch the second and third rounds kind of go through, and we can do some homer stuff. But so far, we haven't given our buddy Luis a chance to do some homer stuff. And the Rams basically traded up for a like a Tecmo Bowl team. They have like they have like 50 first round picks. So let me ask you: are you happier watching Cook's highlights, or would you have rather had a pick in the first round?
I would have rather had the pick, and I would have rather had, when you look at the first round, both at that pick that they would have had, the 23rd pick, you could have had either Calvin Ridley or you could have had DJ Moore. You had a choice of either one of those two out. And that gets me is that everybody's talking about he's a younger Sammy Watkins. Look, I might be the only one that says this. I think Sammy Watkins, I thought that would before he became a Ram. I think Brandon Cooks is overrated. When you look at Brandon Cooks, his best year was 2 years ago when he caught 84 balls and had 1,100 yards. That's great. But since then, he's had since 2015. In 2015, he caught 78 balls. And last year with the New England Patriots, he caught 65 balls. He only caught 65 balls with Tom Brady there. He couldn't get on the same page with them. Yes, is he a deep threat? So you have to respect that. Absolutely, you do. And I apologize that my dog is starting to bark.
Your dog doesn't like Cooks. I think I agree with you and your dog.
Absolutely.
I think your dog is right in the fact that Cooks is going to be better for Cooper Kupp and for Woods.
Yes.
And he's going to be for himself and the Rams. So for your fantasy guys, do not mess with Cooks in fantasy. I said that last year. I said that 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so go ahead and finish that.
Absolutely. Sorry, Chris. But Brandon Cooks, yes, you have to respect his speed. You have to respect the ability that's there. But, here's the problem, and this is something that people talk about all the time, is potential. This person has the potential. This person has the potential for that. Look, if you're still a rookie or a second-year player, yes, you can still talk about potential. But when you're already 3, 4, 5 years in the league, to me, it's no longer about potential. It's about who you are as a player at that point. Okay, chances are you're not going to make that big leap into stardom year 5, year 6, year 7. You can. It's not unfathomable. But chances are you're not going to do it. And if you can't get it together with the New England Patriots, I don't see it getting together anywhere. And like you said, Chris, it's going to be great for Cooper Kupp. It's going to be great for Robert Woods. But I'll tell you what, I much rather would have had a guy like DJ Moore or Calvin Ridley because he'd be on a rookie contract. You'd be able to groom him into your system, and you'd be able to get him right away with Jared Goff and get that offense going. I much rather would have had that pick and gone that direction if that's the way you were going to go. If you're not going to go that way, I would love to. I'm a big stickler for the offensive line and the defensive line. You address your line issues because you can never have too many good offensive linemen, in my opinion. The Rams have issues at linebacker. I would love to see them shore up some linebacking positions here. Everyone's excited in Ramland because you brought in Ndamukong Suh, you brought in Aqib Talib, and you brought in Marcus Peters. Look, I think to pass on. But the problem is Ndamukong Suh doesn't help you on the run. And if Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters are helping stop the run, that's a big, big problem. The Rams haven't done enough, in my opinion, yet to shore up that run defense and make sure I think their defense is going to be good. Wade Phillips does a masterful job. But that being said, if they can't, then they're going to have lots and lots of issues going forward. Say everyone wants to say the Rams are geared up to go and fight with everybody in the NFC. You got to slow your roll because there's a lot of questions still with the Rams.
It hurts me that back in the days you would have said they want to go and fight with the Seahawks, but I don't think that's the case as much anymore. And it is refreshing, and that's one of the reasons why we love having Luis on all of our shows. Is you're being honest, and everything that you're saying is from research, not just this is how my heart feels. It's great. Now, I will say that I love Son of Bum. I think that the best move that they made that they haven't really even got a chance to get all the benefits from is having Wade Phillips as their defensive coordinator. And I like the kid. But I think that the fact that some of the things that you're saying are correct. So very quickly, Big D from Hanford, California. I'm going to bring you up again when we talk about the quarterbacks. You are a Rams fan. You asked, are they the new Legion of Boom? And I responded to you on email that no team since the 50s has been the best scoring defense in the NFL for 2 years in a row since the Seahawks. They did it 4 years and 3 quarters. So when you do it at that point, start talking about that. Yes, I understand the fact that the Legion of Boom is kind of done, but it was a great ride. That's what makes the NFL great. That's why, homers, we ride like Luis, jump on it, man. Like this is your window.
Well, yeah.
The Seahawks, in the late 80s, all the 90s, I was a fan of the worst team in the NFL.
Right.
So I rode those Legion of Boom years to the wheels fell off. It's great. So, with that said, I want to talk very quickly about Seahawks picking someone that a lot of the draftniks, which I can't stand a lot of those guys. This is where I kind of like fantasy. I think a lot of the fantasy guys are sharper than the network guys when it comes to certain things. And very sharp people picked that kid from San Diego State as their second or third most favorite running back. But when they picked him at 27, but a lot of people, you heard gasps in the booth. And John came out today, the GM of the Seahawks came out today and said that even if we wouldn't have had the option of trading down from 18, that was going to be our pick. And I think a huge part of that kid averaged 30 yards per kick return. That kid is big, he's strong, and most importantly for the Seahawks, he has never missed a game. I'm knocking on wood right now. He's never missed a game for injury. He can come through, and that's what they need, And there are, I can count on one hand, GM and head coaching tandems that have won a Super Bowl that are still intact right now. And what they're showing again is that they are believing in their process more than they are draftniks or whatever people want to say. And I love that. You'll ride it, go with it. But people also have to understand they didn't have a second round pick. So they only get the one pick in the first round. And they need, I'm not going to say this kid is Marshawn, but they need competition. They need something running wise. That is what's been missing. So all the people that are coming out and saying that, there was a wasted pick, I'm going to believe the guys have won, more than 9 games, that took over from Jim Mora, who was like a 4-win team, and they've basically kind of changed things, and a lot of people have come and gone, and they're killing it, just like the Rams are. And one of the few people that can say something about that is actually Baltimore Blaine. He had to step away for a quick second, but I think that's what we're talking about. So I'm going to go back to Luis really quickly, and let's talk about who surprised you, who won on day one. Who do you think did the best?
A few teams that I think did really, really well. I like what Buffalo did, getting their quarterback in Josh Allen, regardless or whatnot. They're going to be able to mold him. They're going to be able to really turn the corner there. I think they got a good young guy who's going to be able to sling the ball out really. So I like the Josh Allen pick there. And then they come back and they get Tremaine Edmonds, the Virginia Tech linebacker. He's going to be able to really help out that linebacking core. So I like what Buffalo did. I like what the Raiders did, getting Colton Miller out of UCLA, the big offensive tackle. They needed help on that line, and then they traded for Martavius Bryant, giving up just a third-round pick. I like that move because it gives them three legit good receivers on that offense, and Derek Carr is going to need it. They're going to be able to need
and please add on that something that a lot of people aren't talking about that's going under the radar is they picked up Martavis Bryant from the Steelers.
Yes, absolutely. It was kind of a by the way, no, that's a good pickup because now you've got Amari Cooper there, Martavius Bryant, and Jordy Nelson. If they're healthy, and if Martavius Bryant could stay out of his own way, that receiving core is going to be really, really good because you're going to have to really be careful who you pick because they're going to be fantastic. If Marshawn becomes Marshawn again, this Raider offense is going to be stacked. The problem with the Raiders is, can they stop anybody? So that's going to be something that they're going to have to address. I think they've addressed parts of it here in the second and third round. It was terrible last year. They couldn't protect anybody. So I like what the Raiders have done. I don't like what Cleveland did. It's not that I don't like Baker Mayfield. I actually think Baker Mayfield is going to be really good, and I think they did a good job getting Denzel Ward. But I think they could have done better. I would have taken Barkley at 1, and then I think Mayfield would have slipped to you at 4. And I think your offense would have been really ready to go. I know a lot of people are high on Javaris Landry. I'm not. I put him in the same group as I put Brandon Cooks. I think he's overrated. I don't think he's going to be the playmaker that he's going to be, that people want him to be. So that's my winners and losers.
I have to disagree with you on Landry right there. I blame that more on the Miami coaching staff. As a fantasy guy, when you're looking at points for reception, the guy is averaging, I think, like 8.5, 9 receptions per game. They just don't know how to use him. I don't know if that was the best pick for the Browns. But I also am not going to pretend that I know how to draft a quarterback. I think that the Steelers just changed history by picking up that kid from Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. I think that they just got Ben 2.0, and I think that's going to be huge for them. But I like a lot of the things that you're saying, Luis. And I think the Raiders, we're going to see what happens. They picked up a lot of players from one system that Reggie picked up, and then they had Jack Del Rio, who hired a defensive coordinator that he didn't listen to and ran his own defense. And that defensive coordinator has gone back to Pete Carroll. But they picked up a Pete Carroll assistant and never ran that defense. It's the same thing they did with the offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator last year is absolute garbage. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think that they're way less capable than people think. Everyone knows. Blaine knows. My backup guy, Case Keenum, gosh darn it, he's going to change the Broncos around. But I like what Baltimore did. I know it's weird to say, so you don't have to defend on why I'm wrong because I think you've already made that clear, Blaine. But why don't you tell us who you think has won so far in the first couple of rounds of the draft? And I think that includes off-season pickups too. So let's not leave that out too, because the draft and that whole off-season mentality of building a new team also includes pickups, re-signings, and things of that nature. That's why I think that you guys killed it. That's why I don't understand why you don't like it, but you made it very clear why you think that. And someone that follows your own team, I think we always have to listen to you. But if your team didn't win, who did win?
I have to push back with that Luis on the Browns. I think the Browns are doing very well so far. I like the choice of Baker Mayfield. I
Scott
went on
McLuhan.
record.
Gosh darn it, I didn't get to say that. So yeah, Scott
You
McLuhan
said
is
it.
his fingerprints are all over it. Yeah, I meant to say that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lynn.
That's okay. No, Baker Mayfield was the quarterback that I picked. Was my favorite quarterback in this draft, and I like the fact that Cleveland did not dance around. They went after the quarterback that they wanted, first pick, because you know what? If they wanted Baker Mayfield and say that the Giants didn't, what I think, screw up on their pick and go for, and they decided to go for a quarterback, say a Baker Mayfield, then that quarterback wouldn't have been there. So by them using that quarterback pick in the first as the first pick, the number one position that you want to fill, the most important position to fill, then you have some flexibility to either trade that second pick or pick in that second pick, go defense, go offense. Now, see, I would have probably gone Saquon Barkley on that fourth pick if he had been there, but he
We
wasn't
wasn't
there, so
he wasn't
they
there.
went defense, cornerback. I I mean Cleveland can use the help in on defense, so I think they're building something that's really nice there. I don't think that they're the old Cleveland Browns or following the pattern of the old Cleveland Browns, where they if they can screw it up, that they will. I
Okay,
do.
so let me ask you a quick question as we're getting on time. Let me give you a chance to answer very quickly, and then we'll give Luis. We'll go back in reverse order. What do you think about the fact that they did not tell Jackson that they were going to pick Baker Mayfield until less than 24 hours before the draft?
I think that is still a dysfunction in that organization. I think it shows that they don't really trust Jackson, or that maybe Jackson doesn't have as much clout in that organization or say in that organization as many head coaches do. So I think it's a flaw. The coach should be on board with it, or at least notified of it beforehand, well beforehand, and even be involved in that choice in some cases. He's the
Yeah,
guy that's going to be leading these guys out there. He needs to know and have some input as to who he's going to be leading and why.
Luis.
Well, I'll tell you what, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't like the Baker Mayfield pick. I like Baker Mayfield, and I think he's going to be a star in the NFL. I just think you could have gotten him at 4, and it would have taken Barkley at 1 because then you've got a surefire running back that's going to take some pressure off of not just Baker Mayfield in the future, but Tyrod Taylor this year. So you got a guy coming in Taylor who doesn't know the offense, is learning on the fly, and is trying to get acquainted to a new team and a new main receiver in Javaris Landry. I think you bring in a guy like Saquon Barkley, and you're going to take a lot of pressure off of him right away. I think Mayfield would have been there at 4 because I think if you take Barkley 1, I think Darnold goes to the Giants. The Jets are the ones that might have thrown a little bit of a wrench in it, but I think they would have taken Josh Allen had Darnold been gone, and then I think you could have come back with Mayfield at 4. So that's
Well,
that's my biggest issue.
Luis, what do you think about Nick Chubb going to in the second round
I like
at
Nick
number
Chubb.
3rd pick?
I like Nick Chubb. I think he's
The
going to
Browns
be
picked
really
him up.
good. Yeah, no, I like him a
Yeah,
lot. They did well there, but to me, when you're talking Nick Chubb versus Saquon Barkley, I'm taking Barkley.
yeah.
I think Sashi and all the analytics absolutely killed it, and the fact that they kept Jackson and put the blame on Sashi is ridiculous. I mean, you can look at the Browns, like all those first round, second round picks, all the draft capital that they have is because of Sashi. I understand that Oakland never won a World Series, but Boston did, right?
Right.
Using Sashi's program, and I think that he killed it. And now they went and got McLuhan, who is one of the best minds in football. I'm glad that he's got over his addiction stuff, and then he's out of that toxic environment in Washington where they would have had Cousins long term and a better team if they would have kept McLuhan. And now the Browns have picked up, and I think they're doing the right stuff. So talking about that and how some of those people have fallen, I'm going to say that the quarterback is going to be a left-handed dude from Buffalo that's going to play and going to be one of the best quarterbacks out of all of the first-round guys this year. I think Tyrod in that offense is going to be better than everyone that was drafted this year, at least for this year. Maybe not in the future, but at least for this year. I think that's a very easy pick for me because of the fact that that team is loaded. That team is loaded now.
You're talking about Cleveland?
Yeah, I think Tyrod Taylor with those receivers, with Josh Gordon getting his win back, with all those guys that they have going on there. They didn't get to Barkley, but at the same time, they also picked up what's his name from the Niners? Who am I thinking?
Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, they got Hyde, and then they have Duke Johnson. They have a great offensive line. They got Coleman, Gordon, and the guy from Miami that we've been talking about the whole show.
Landry.
Exactly, Landry. Who is an interesting pick. I think the three of us disagree on the level of talent that he has, and maybe he was overpaid, but they had the ability to overpay him.
I would have taken him.
Yeah, so let me go. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go Luis first, and back to you, Blaine. Did Arizona just absolutely rob the entire draft by sitting there, not doing anything, and letting their future quarterback fall to them?
Well, I'll tell you what. I get Josh Rosen. I think if there was a situation that Rosen can come in and do well, it's with Arizona. Now, I thought Arizona made a mistake a few years ago when they didn't try to get a backup quarterback right after they signed Carson Palmer, because we knew how brittle Palmer was. Now Palmer retires, you bring in Sam Bradford, another very brittle guy, and you're getting a guy in Josh Rosen who, look, Josh Rosen can play. He's a UCLA guy. I've watched the school that I follow. The guy can play. But the question remains, one, is he completely focused on football? That's going to be the biggest question mark going forward with Josh Rosen. Is he going to be on football? The second thing is he going to rub people the wrong way? And how much of this lip service that he's given us about being disrespected and being ticked off is going to motivate him and prove to be more than just lip service? So he's got a lot to prove. But if there's a situation for him to go to where I think he's going to be able to succeed, maybe not right away, but I think grow. You've got David Johnson coming back. If he's healthy, he's going to take a lot of pressure off of that. The Arizona Cardinals are in complete rebuild mode. Larry Fitzgerald's not going to be there forever. We already know that Sam Bradford's not going to be there very long. So I think they did a good job of trading up with the Raiders and getting that number 10 slot and picking Josh Rosen. If Josh Rosen is motivated properly, this guy's going to be a hell of a quarterback for them for years to come.
Blaine?
Yeah, I thought of a cartoon after the first round of the draft, and with Buffalo and being in the war room and having them look at each other and say, Josh Rosen? No, Josh out. No, Josh. Did we pick the wrong Josh? Yes, you did. I don't know why they picked Josh Allen over Josh Rosen.
That's a great concept. Horrible delivery.
I know. It's off the top of my head. I didn't have time to rehearse it. But yeah, I mean, why? That's the one problem I have with Buffalo. Picking Edmonds, I can see, but going and picking Allen over Rosen for that team, I guess it just falls into play that they're just staying in the pattern that they did last year when they benched Tyrod for no unknown reason, and almost screwed up their season. So if this is what's to continue on in Buffalo, I feel bad for the fans because it's really not looking good as far as decision making in Buffalo. And now you got a quarterback that's not as talented, in my opinion, as Rosen, who is going to struggle, and in what's going to probably be a fall off. Well, definitely it's going to be a fall off as far as I'm concerned. I don't see them making the at this point. I can't see how they're going to make the playoffs again.
So very quickly, I want to give a shout out to Devin from Indiana, as well as Big D from Hanford, California. So my middle school years, as well as a couple of my younger high school years, I lived in the middle of Central California, right, in a place
Aren't you
called
still in high
Visalia.
school?
Yeah, I wish my hairline begs to differ, but but that middle area there, I was looking at all these stats, and I didn't realize the fact that Fresno State didn't want him, and he went to JC for the first year, and he went to JC in a place called Reedley. I almost called it Ridley. Reedley, California. Why don't you Google image Reedley, California? I mean, it is like the middle of nowhere. And in that JC, playing against like nobody, he had 49% completion rate at JC. I thought that was the perfect Browns pick until I found out that Scott McClellan went there, because that's a total Browns pick. You got a big arm, just throw it. But Buffalo offensive coordinator, you have the Andy Reid bloodline there. They picked Mahomes. They hear all the stories about Favre, so they went and they picked the big arm, and they think that they can fix him. That is going to be the biggest miss, like by far. I think that kid is not going to do anything. And I'm going to let you guys very quickly argue with me. I think Rosen is going to be a huge turnover machine in the NFL, because he likes to throw into things without thinking and gets picked off in college. In the Pac-12, I think that they did right. I think by far Baker Mayfield was the right guy. I think that there was a lot of stink on him because he looked Johnny Manziel-ish, even though he's a completely different person and different player. You know, he comes from a rich family. He's shorter. He moves around, but he's not Johnny. You know, he did that one thing where he grabbed his crotch, but at the same time, it's a totally different guy. And I
You're
was,
talking Baker Mayfield.
yeah, Baker Mayfield. Because I was thinking
Yeah.
that the taint of of Johnny Manziel, everyone, associated him with, the two together. And you have someone who picked Russell Wilson, who helped pick Russell Wilson, say, no, I want a winner that can move around, that knows how to play football in this particular type of offense that you guys want to run. And I think they made the absolute 100% right pick at number one. Luis, tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like I said before, my only issue with the Browns taking Baker Mayfield at one was not a shot. Baker Mayfield's I think he's gonna do very, very well in the NFL. I just would have liked to have seen them help him out a little bit. I understand they got Nick Chubb, and I actually think the Browns are doing very well in their team. I just think when you think about putting Barkley in the same backfield as Mayfield, I think you could have something very, very special going forward. Not that Nick Chubb isn't going to be good. The Browns are doing some good stuff. Be wait and see. And I like, but it's going to be, can they mold Mayfield into Hugh Jackson's type of offense? Because if they can't, we all know what's going to play out. They're going to bring somebody else in. You're going to have to learn all over again for success in the NFL. I think Mayfield's good, but I think he would have been there for. That's my only issue with him going number one. That's it.
I think the quarterback that Pittsburgh and Baltimore picked are going to end up being better than the guys at the top. That's my hot take for the day.
I can see it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to argue.
I think that Pittsburgh might actually end up being, Mr. Hirsch isn't on the show today, where he always, with correctly talks about how he's lucky enough that for the last whatever, it feels like 80 years now, but they've only had two quarterbacks in Green Bay. Only one Super Bowl, by the way, also. Appearance. Just saying. That's for Mr. Hirsch. But I think that the Steelers, if they have Big Ben 2.0, that could really work out well for them. Are you guys watching the draft? Is there anything that's come up on day two that catches your attention here? Because I'm looking through and I haven't seen anything yet.
No,
Ravens. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Blaine. I'm sorry.
No, the Ravens kept trading back and jumping around again. And I swear if this was a ballet or a dance recital, it would be, they would be doing great.
You want those splat. I love when fans they want the draft and then they go look up the college the college highlights. Like that's how it's gonna be on our team this year.
No. The fact is that I want to see talent. I want to see talent infused into this team, and jumping around and tap dancing around like they're doing is not helping this team. It's not. It looks it's all glossy on the surface, but it's not.
Do you believe in Ozzy? Do you believe do you believe that Ozzy said there's not someone worth it and the draft capital is better? Or no?
I believe that when you're in a pickle and you need to infuse talent into a team that's lacking talent, you make the pick. You pick the highest ranked and most talented player that you can pick for your needs and on the board. You don't keep dancing around and settling for less. And that's what Ozzy is doing. And that's what that front office is doing right now. They're not doing this franchise, these players, or the fans justice by doing this. It just looks good. It looks like, oh, he's a genius because you look at this move, look at this move, look at that move, look at that move. Yeah, Barishnikov, very good. But
we should change the name of this show to Therapy. We call it Dr. Phil's Homer Therapy. That's what you changed the show to. I gotta cut Blaine off.
The draft couch.
Yeah, I gotta cut Blaine off. Luis.
I'll tell you what.
Surprising you. Who do you like on day two?
I'll tell you one of the teams that we haven't talked about yet that I think is doing a really good job with this draft so far are the Patriots. Patriots are drafting well. They got they addressed the offensive line in the first round. They also addressed the running back. The running back in the as well. Bill Belichick, look, a lot of people want to give him a lot of flack, especially right now, the way they handled the Super Bowl, but they're addressing needs. They pick up Duke Dawson, the Florida cornerback in the second round, which I like.
Sonny Michel.
Sonny Michel in the end of the first round yesterday. I love him as well.
I have a problem with that one.
Well, here's my biggest.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll let you finish, Luis. I apologize.
I'm sorry, Luis. Go ahead.
Oh, no problem. Let me just do it real quick. My biggest issue right now with the Patriots is this. Has Bill Belichick lost credibility with his handling of Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl with all these people that were instrumental in the way that he has this offseason? There seems to be a little bit more this go around than there has been in the past. But as far as their draft, among some of the other teams.
Yeah, we talked about that. I'll pass it to Blaine, but just something for you to think about and post is we talked about how Belichick and Popovich, two of the best coaches of our generation, have both run into problems for the first time in a way that we would never have thought. Blaine, why don't you go ahead? Sorry about that. I just wanted to add that into what he said.
No, I was just going to echo what you said about we talked about that last show. It was it has Bill Belichick or is he losing this locker room? Has he lost it, or is he in the process of losing it? Because you have all this drama going on with not only players in general, but the star players. And I believe what we're seeing is the decline of Belichick and the Patriots locker room as we know it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Belichick is not there in 2 years. But I agree with you, Luis, as far as the Patriots handling their business in the draft. The only question that I have is why Sonny Michel over, say, Nick Chubb. The reason I'm saying that is because there was a report that Michel might have some bone-on-bone problem. And, with running back as it is to begin with.
I'm so juvenile.
That I'm gonna reach through the phone and smack you. The problem with now I can't concentrate. No, okay. Uh, the problem with that is that at that position that is such a small lifespan in a position at running back anyway. You're looking at less than 3 years or 5 years or something like that.
Chubb had an almost career-ending injury.
Yeah, but you're talking about a possible chronic injury with Michel. So apparently they feel their medical team feels, and don't even go there, Chris, feels strong enough to pass him along and
To
stay
help him
with
the
that.
bone-on-bone situation.
Yeah, with the bone-on-bone situation.
All right. Well, Luis has to go, and our show needs to wrap up. And since it's my gosh darn show, I want to say something about the Seahawks and ask you two. So, what do you guys think about the fact that the Seahawks picked that kid from San Diego State above LSU, above Chubb, above Michel, above everybody, and they went with someone that just blew me out of the water? We'll wrap it up with that, and please, Luis, plug where you're going to be, and we'll end up and get back to watching the rest of the draft.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know what? When you get to this level, people always like to talk about, well, did you compete against this, this type of talent? How did you match up against this type of talent? Look, if you can play, you can play. If you're playing Division I college football, you can play. So to me, when you start talking, oh, this person didn't do this person didn't do that. Look, Carson Wentz came out to look what he's done in 2 years. So it's no longer go. If you can play, you can. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. Now, if you were, 18 playing against 10-year-olds, okay, yeah, fine. But do you have the fundamentals? Do you have the look? Do you have the ability? That's what teams are looking for nowadays. And this kid from San Diego State, I'm blanking on Rashad Penny, excuse me. This kid can play. If you watch San Diego State play at all, the way this guy runs, he's electric. I think if you're comfortable with him, if you're Seattle and you're comfortable with him and you think he's just as good, if not better, than some of these guys at these 4 years, then absolutely take him. I have no problem with that whatsoever. And here's the thing. We talk about the lifespan of a running back. If he's played again.
Never missed a game in the college either.
Right. If he's got the durability, he's going to have less bang on him. Guess what? He's going to be able to produce. And here's the other thing. Running back is probably the one position in the NFL that has the easiest transition from college to the pros. So I actually think they did a really good job with Rashad Penny. Excuse me, I keep calling him Penny, taking him at 27. My only concern with Seattle, got to upgrade that offensive line, because if you don't have an offensive line, it doesn't matter who you have behind center or in the backfield. Because if you can't block, people are going to be coming in on you anyway. But I like the pick. I think Penny's going to do very well.
I just want to call out Blaine, because you just accidentally roasted him about Perryman. You got that, didn't you, Blaine?
Oh yeah,
you were laughing in the back. No, you don't want Perryman.
Yeah, why don't you clean it up, and then we'll let Luis give a plug, and we'll get out.
Okay, I'm going to just grab on the tail of what you just said, Luis, about that offensive line. That's why I don't like this pick here. I don't like the fact that they went number one in the first round with this particular player, because who is going to protect Russell Wilson? This has been the problem with that team, your team, Chris, for the last few seasons. Is
signed a 7-time Pro Bowler to left tackle from Dwayne Brown, and signed a guard and got the guy who was hurt in preseason last year as a stud at tackle. And the only guy that was rated well was the center, who is coming back and has been extended. So they just put up 3 contracts on offensive line for big-time players and let Richard Sherman go. So,
are you feeling good about this? You're satisfied with that?
I'm gonna go down with the ship on Pete No, hey, I gotta trust those guys because I remember looking at the draft a couple of years ago when they picked some idiot named Cam Chancellor in the 6th round and some uh, receiver that's trying to play corner that his head coach Harbaugh said should not be drafted, named Doug Baldwin and Richard Sherman. And Pete Carroll said, "I believe in these guys, so I'm gonna go with the fact that he knows more than I do."
Okay. Um, I think I would have. I think I would have still gone for one of these young O linemen.
I wanted Josh. I wanted the corner from Iowa, who the Packers. God damn it, Mr. Hirsch. We even talked about him getting the Packers just got the best corner in the draft in the 2nd round. Sucks.
But I mean, I have nothing against Penny. I mean, it's just that I think I would have used that pick for the offensive line.
Have you ever seen him play?
No, I haven't. But
I have.
You have, Luis? I've never even seen the guy play. He had a 31-yard average as a kick returner at 200-something pounds. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Very fast, can get through the holes really quick, can catch the ball a little bit. A little undersized, going to work out some blocking a little bit, but he's very explosive.
I watched him go head-to-head against the kid from Fresno State and did just put him on his butt. I mean, it's fantastic. A team that has Thomas Rawls sitting on the bench, CJ Prosise, the 2nd-round pick, sitting on the bench. They've all had a great game or two and always hurt. I'm just happy that, and then we finally get the guy from, you get Chris Carson, and it's almost like we're playing in Baltimore at tight end. Everyone gets hurt at the same position.
Right. And cornerback, by the way.
And cornerback. I know we're keeping Luis too long. He's got dogs and stuff to take care of. Why don't you give yourself a quick plug, and hopefully we're going to talk you into being a part of this network.
Well, I tell you, I appreciate it, man. Guys, thanks for having me. I had such a blast. Yeah, as you alluded to, my wife and daughter are gone up in San Francisco for the weekend, and they're going to be calling me here in a few minutes. But you can find me on Facebook at Lewis's Sports House, and you're going to be updated. I'm going to be launching my show back here on Blog Talk Radio. Lewis's Sports House is going to be blowing up starting in May, probably in about 2 weeks. And I've got lots of things lined up. We're going to talk football, baseball, basketball, wrestling, talk about the NBA draft, whole lot of stuff going on. You're going to want to check it out there. And you can find me at Twitter as well at LESPRADAJR.
Blaine, you want to say anything besides your little quick goodbye that I always have to try and cut out or grab real quick on the remaster?
No, it's just great having you on, Luis. Great speaking sports with you. Been waiting to do that for some time. Looking forward to doing it again in the near future. And this going back to this draft, man. By the way, if we had taken DJ Moore, we would have satisfied another need, which is a punt returner. But anyway, I'm going to lay back on the draft couch now and take a nap.
But you got Perryman.
Stop it.
Good night, guys.
Good night.